Now I'd like to invite to the podium Mr. Paul Wilkening. Paul will be inducting Judge Bill Musseman.
Yes, sir. I'm supposed to bring this, right? In 1998, I was a prosecutor in the district attorney's office in Tulsa County, and bar results just went out, and that's normally where you get your new staff. And we got a couple new prosecutors that year, and one was a young William J. Musseman. Bill showed up, and I was fortunate enough to get him on my team. I was a team captain, a chief prosecutor, and a judge, and they signed him to me. And I thought, okay, another kid, great, I got to train him. Crap. Wow, what a breath of fresh air he was. I didn't know he was a Pike at the time. I found out a little later, but I liked him the second I met him. He got it. And if you know what I mean, it varies from thing to thing. He got it. He got what we did in the DA's office. He got how to practice law. I was about 10 years older than him. I didn't have to train him, teach him to do much of anything. He just learned quick. He was almost like, Steve, you ever had a border collie? He was a border collie, and I was holding a tennis ball. He's like, give me the case, give me the case, give me the case. He wanted to try everything. And try cases he did. He became one of the most prolific DAs, assistant DAs that we had in Tulsa County. He tried over 80 jury trials, and that's a lot if you're in the DA's office. Those of you that have practiced law and been in the DA's office. Tried over 80 jury trials, and that's about 8 a year, because he was in the DA's office 10 years, I think. So that's a bunch. 30 of those were murders, 12 were death penalty cases. In the district attorney's office, to try cases, that's how you get your stripes. Try murders, that's how you get your clover. And he was definitely a general in the office. And that didn't go unnoticed by the voters, because Bill Musseman ran for judge in 2011, and he won by 65% of the vote. And he was on the bench at Tulsa County District Court for about 10 years. Had a criminal docket and a civil docket, but he was really good in the criminal docket. I got to appear in front of him once. So the first lesson I learned, you young guys out there, and I think we can all learn this, is if you're ever part of a letterhead and you're right here, be real nice to these people, because you never know when they're going to catapult over you, which is exactly what Judge Musseman did. So he ran and won, and then also didn't go unnoticed by the governor when a position came open on the Court of Criminal Appeals here in the state of Oklahoma, because Bill was appointed. And he's done a fantastic job there. If you are an attorney and you practice law, and Steve, you can talk about this, and Ed Peace, there's such thing among judges, it's called the black robe syndrome. You know what that is? They get their black robe, they get used to people standing up when they walk in a room, and they're hard to talk to when they get to that point. I've got the black robe. And my apologies to any judges that might be out there. I'm sure it doesn't apply to you. But if you met Bill last night as I was introducing him around a couple of the cocktail parties, he doesn't have black robe syndrome. In fact, I introduced him as Judge Musseman. He'd say, "Hi, I'm Bill. Here's a beer." You know, he's just a nice guy. And he's been that great. And he's 10 years younger than me, roughly. He was the little brother that I never had. And I've just enjoyed practicing law with him and the whole experience I've had in being with him. He did one smart thing, too. He married right. His wife, Kirsten, was his high school sweetheart. I think they might have met in junior high. And he married her. They have 3 great kids, Maddie, Cooper, and Max. Cooper I coached in Little League. He's a great kid. And let me get into the specifics here. He's a 1991 Theta Epsilon initiate. And he's been a great judge, a great professional, and there are three things in my Pike life that stand out. The first is when I was initiated Nate Omicron with Tommy. The second is when I got to initiate my son Will. And the third is today, Bill. I'm honored to give you the Order of West Range. Podium's yours.
Thank you. I'm not able to find words to articulate how humbled I am in this moment. As I stand here on the stage, I'm literally on stage with giants in the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity and giants in the legal field. Andrew Coates was the dean of the law school when I was there. He shaped the law school and the fundamental knowledge that I have that has given me the skill set as a lawyer and a judge for the last 26 years. To be on the stage with them, receiving this honor, the Order of the West Range, I feel like an imposter, because what I sense in the moment is a memory that is less of a memory on a timeline and more of a touchstone that I can just reach out and touch. When I was sitting in your chairs, young men, when I was a Pike undergraduate, and I wondered, what am I going to do with my life? How do I know what decisions are right? What opportunities do I take? When do I say no to an opportunity? I would have never, sitting in those chairs, thought that I would be on the stage with these men. And I still don't know how I got this award other than I think I said, yeah, I will show up. I want to talk for a minute about professional success, only because this Order of the West Range was given to me as an acknowledgement of professional achievement. My achievement was probably explained and a bit embellished by Mr. Wilkening. When I came to the DA's office and I worked for Paul, and we later found out we were both Pikes, it was like I went from the fraternity house to a fraternity house in the real world. I had the mentorship and tutoring and education from a fellow Pike that always had my best interest at heart. I was always thrust into experiences and opportunities that I never knew I could achieve, but he knew I could, and he put me in the courtroom well above my comfort zone and was there with me when I needed help and let me fend for myself when I didn't. As a trial lawyer and a trial judge over 27 years, I've made one clear observation. If you want to have success in the legal field, like so many others, you have to be disciplined. Evidence has to meet evidence code requirements. It doesn't just come into evidence before a jury because you want it. You have to know the evidence code back and forward. You have to know your objections, and you have to study people. You have to know what a jury is listening to and what they're not listening to. And you have to know attention spans and when not to talk too long, so I'll be brief. Discipline is very important, but I'm talking to the young men now that I referenced earlier because I remember when I was in your chair. Instead of telling you about myself, I want to focus my comments on a Pike who has better experiences and better quotes than I do, Steve Prefontaine. If you know who he is, you should. He's a great Pike. If you don't, you need to Google him. Steve Prefontaine was one of the best runners of all time, and he rose to success and fame beyond what we can discuss now in the 70s, and he died early from a car wreck. He will have a quote that you might be most familiar with if you see a Nike shirt, and it was something to the effect that if you do not give your all, you're sacrificing the gift. Steve Prefontaine was famous for breaking the mold of long-distance runners. Up until him, and really beyond him, There was the idea that you set your pace. You wait till the end and you try to maximize the energy you have left to win a race. He said, heck with that, I'm going to run hard from the gunfire. And he had quotes, something to the effect that you're not going to win a 5,000 meter race if you pace yourself the first 2 miles. He further refined his quote to be, you're not going to beat me in a 5,000 meter race if you pace yourself. He said, I'm going to turn it into a gut check. And if it's a gut check, I'm going to win. The reason I want to talk to you about Steve Prefontaine and discipline is because I want to talk about the interplay to you young men between discipline and passion. It is my belief that people misunderstand Steve Prefontaine. It is my belief that they believe that he stands for discipline and toughness, albeit that was a central trait of his character. What he stands for, in my estimation, is passion. He found something he loves, and he devoted his life to his passion. For you young men worried about your career, not knowing your next step, follow your heart, follow your passion. Discipline will follow. Don't get the two out of order. A life that is made of discipline, thinking that passion will follow discipline, will lead to disappointment. If you've ever made a New Year's resolution, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Find your passion. If you love the law, jump in it. If you love art, jump in it. If engineering is your passion, follow it. Discipline is a tool to assist you in your passion. Discipline will fine-tune your skills and make you better at what you're most passionate about. I want you to remember that when you hear about or Google Steve Prefontaine. And when you think about what made him great was not the discipline, it's the passion. If you're sitting in one of those chairs as a young pike, as I was, wondering, what in the world am I going to do with my life? How do I know if my decisions are right or wrong? Follow your heart. Follow your passion. Discipline will follow. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I've always been so proud of some of my memberships. My membership in Pi Kappa Alpha is one of the most proud memberships I have. To be honored by that membership is beyond words. Now that I'm beyond words, I'll wrap it up. Thank you.